Your Honor, with all due respect, I don't have time to sit at red lights when there's no cross traffic. The rules that make sense for most people don't account for people like me. The billionaire CEO stood in Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom wearing a $5,000 suit and a smile that said he owned the world. He'd just run 2 red lights, blown through a school zone at 47 miles per hour, and parked in a handicapped spot, all caught on camera. And now he was telling one of America's most respected judges that traffic laws were beneath him. What happened next would get 200 million views and remind America that nobody is above the law. Judge Caprio slowly removed his glasses. The courtroom went silent. When he finally spoke, his voice was deadly calm. "Mr. Ashford, did you just tell me that rules don't apply to you?" The CEO leaned back confidently. "I'm saying rules should be flexible for circumstances, Your Honor. I employ 4,000 people. My company generates billions in revenue. I was rushing to a conference that brought millions into this city. I'm not making excuses. I'm providing context. When someone is actively contributing to society at my level, perhaps the rigid application of every minor traffic rule isn't the best use of anyone's time." The courtroom erupted in whispers. His own lawyer looked like he wanted to disappear. But Judge Caprio had seen entitled people before. He'd just never seen anyone this bold about it. And he was about to deliver a lesson this CEO would never forget. The man who thought he was untouchable. Let me back up and tell you who Marcus Ashford III really was, because you need to understand just how spectacular his fall was about to be. At 42, Marcus had built NextCore Technologies into a $3.7 billion empire. Forbes loved him. CNBC interviewed him. His TED Talk was called Breaking Rules to Break Barriers. His book, Above Average: Why Excellence Means Ignoring Convention, was a bestseller. His Instagram bio literally read, "I don't follow rules, I set them." The guy had spent a decade being told he was special, brilliant, a disruptor. Everyone around him said yes. Nobody told him no. And somewhere along the way, he started believing his own hype. On that October morning, Marcus rolled into Providence, Rhode Island in a $3 million matte black Bugatti Chiron for a tech conference. He was the keynote speaker, and he was late. Over 45 minutes, Marcus racked up 6 violations, all on camera. Speeding through school zones where kids were walking to class, running 2 red lights in broad daylight, illegal turns, and the cherry on top, parking in a handicapped spot without a permit because it was closest to the entrance. When the tickets arrived, $1,850 total, Marcus didn't pay them. He challenged them, not because he thought he was innocent, but because he thought he was special. His 800-an-hour Boston lawyer, Richard Pemberton, assured him this would be easy. "It's Providence Traffic Court, Marcus. We'll get them dismissed or reduced. This judge sees hundreds of cases a week." What they didn't know was that Judge Frank Caprio wasn't like other judges. The judge who never forgot where he came from. Frank Caprio was 78 years old and had presided over Providence Municipal Court for over 3 decades. He'd become famous on social media for his compassion, dismissing tickets for struggling single mothers, reducing fines for elderly veterans, showing mercy to people who showed genuine remorse. But there was something people often missed about Judge Caprio's compassion. It was earned through respect and humility. He had endless patience for people who owned their mistakes and were trying their best. He had zero tolerance for arrogance and entitlement. Frank grew up in Federal Hill, the son of Italian immigrants. His father pushed a fruit cart through the streets in snow and summer heat. Frank remembered hunger. He remembered hand-me-down clothes with holes. He put himself through law school driving a taxi at night. He understood that a $100 fine could mean the difference between groceries and going hungry for some families. That's why he showed compassion. But he also understood something else. The rule of law is what separates civilization from chaos, and it only works if it applies equally to everyone, from the poorest person in Providence to the richest CEO in America. The hearing was scheduled for 10 a.m. on a Wednesday. Judge Caprio reviewed the case file the night before. 6 violations, clear video evidence, no emergency, no mitigating circumstances, just arrogance. What he didn't know yet was that Marcus Ashford was about to take arrogance to a level he'd never seen before. The stormwalks. Marcus entered the courtroom at 10:14 a.m., 14 minutes late. Not because of traffic, because he'd stopped for coffee and figured court would wait. He wore Tom Ford from head to toe. His watch cost more than most people's cars. The courtroom went silent as he walked in radiating contempt for everyone there. Judge Caprio looked up from the bench. "Mr. Ashford, thank you for joining us." The sarcasm was subtle but sharp. Marcus didn't apologize. He just smiled and took his seat like a king, gracing peasants with his presence. Pemberton started with the usual lawyer talk. "Your Honor, we're here regarding 6 alleged traffic violations." "Alleged?" Judge Caprio interrupted. "Counselor, we have video evidence. There's nothing alleged about them." Pemberton tried again. "What I meant is that we believe there are circumstances that warrant dismissal. Mr. Ashford is a prominent businessman who was arriving for a speaking engagement that would benefit the local economy. Does Mr. Ashford's economic status give him permission to drive through school zones at excessive speeds?" That's when Marcus made his fatal mistake. He waved his lawyer aside and spoke directly to the judge. "Your Honor, I think we're losing sight of the bigger picture here." Judge Caprio set down his pen. "I'm listening." Marcus stood up, despite his lawyer's hand trying to keep him seated, and launched into what he clearly thought was a brilliant speech. "I employ over 4,000 people. My company generates billions in revenue. I was coming to Providence to speak at a conference that brought millions of dollars into this city. I'd just gotten off a call with investors in Tokyo, a deal that would create 200 jobs right here in Rhode Island." He paused dramatically, his confidence absolute. "So yes, I was speeding. Yes, I made some quick turns. Yes, I parked where it was convenient. But I was doing it while creating value, while building something, while making things happen. I don't have time to circle blocks looking for parking or sit at red lights when there's no cross traffic." The courtroom was dead silent. Even the stenographer had stopped typing. Marcus drove it home. "I'm not making excuses. I'm providing context. The rules that make sense for most people don't account for people like me who are actually moving the economy forward. I'm happy to pay a fine. Money isn't the issue. But perhaps there should be different considerations for different situations." He sat down, looking pleased with himself. Pemberton looked like he wanted to die. Judge Caprio removed his glasses slowly. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes everyone lean in. "Mr. Ashford, did you just tell me that rules don't apply to you?" Marcus smiled. "I'm saying rules should be flexible for circumstances, Your Honor." "That's not what I heard." The destruction begins. What happened next would become one of the most watched courtroom moments in internet history. Judge Caprio leaned forward, and everyone felt the temperature in the room drop. "Let me tell you something about rules, son. My father came to this country with $8 in his pocket. He didn't speak English. He didn't have connections. He had a cart, his hands, and a willingness to follow the rules of his new home. You know what he taught me? That in America, we have something precious, something people die trying to reach our shores to obtain. The rule of law, not the rule of wealth, not the rule of influence, the rule of law." Marcus's smile started to fade. "You stand there in your expensive suit and tell me rules should be different for you. Let me tell you who else was in my courtroom this week." The judge's voice rose with passion. "A single mother got a parking ticket because she was 2 minutes late getting back to the meter while picking up her daughter from school. She cried, actually cried, because that $50 ticket meant choosing between paying it and buying her daughter's medicine. She didn't tell me the rules should be different for her. She took responsibility and asked if she could do community service." Judge Caprio was just getting started. I had a 74-year-old veteran in here who got a speeding ticket rushing to the VA hospital. He had every excuse in the world. You know what he said? Your Honor, I was wrong. I should have left earlier. I accept whatever consequence you decide. That man stormed Normandy Beach. He has more right to special treatment than you ever will, and he didn't ask for it. Marcus was no longer smiling. His face had gone pale. You mentioned you employ 4,000 people. That's admirable. But the woman who cleans this courthouse at night has 3 jobs to support her disabled husband. She employs nobody, earns minimum wage. When she got a ticket for an expired inspection sticker because she couldn't afford the repairs, she didn't tell me she was above the law. She scraped together every dollar to pay it. Judge Caprio stood up, and the weight of the moment crushed the air from the room. You drove through a school zone at 47 miles per hour. The limit is 20. Do you know why? Because at 47 miles per hour, if you hit a child, they have a 5% chance of survival. At 20 miles per hour, they have a 95% chance. Those numbers aren't suggestions, Mr. Ashford. They're the difference between a child going home and a funeral. The courtroom was silent except for his voice. You parked in a handicapped spot because it was convenient. My wife's sister uses a wheelchair. Last month, she couldn't attend her grandson's birthday party because someone parked illegally in the only accessible spot. Someone like you, who thought their convenience mattered more than her dignity. Judge Caprio's eyes never left Marcus. You say you create jobs and generate revenue. That matters, but it doesn't place you above the law. In this courtroom, a tech billionaire and a homeless veteran stand on exactly equal ground. Your bank account doesn't give you extra rights. Your success doesn't exempt you from basic human decency. He sat back down, his gaze boring into the CEO. The rules aren't holding you back, Mr. Ashford. They're not obstacles to your success. They are the foundation that makes your success possible. They create the stable, safe, orderly society where businesses can thrive. You didn't build your empire in chaos. You built it in a nation of laws. And you just told me you think you're above them. The hammer falls. So here's what's going to happen, Judge Caprio continued, his voice now ice cold. For the speeding violation in a school zone, the maximum fine of $500 plus a mandatory driver safety course. For running 2 red lights, $250 each, $500 total. For illegal turns, $200. For the handicapped parking violation, $400. Marcus's jaw clenched. His face had gone from pale to red. But I'm not done. I'm assigning you 40 hours of community service at the Rhode Island Independent Living Center, where you'll spend time with people whose lives are directly impacted by the kind of selfish behavior you displayed. People in wheelchairs who can't access buildings because entitled people park in their spots. You'll push wheelchairs. You'll help with accessibility. You'll learn what your convenience costs other people. The total came to $1,850 in fines, plus $200 in court costs, plus the community service. All fines must be paid within 30 days. The community service must be completed within 60 days. I want a personal letter from the director confirming you completed every single hour. Judge Caprio paused, letting it sink in. And Mr. Ashford, if you ever appear in my courtroom again with this attitude, if you ever again suggest that rules don't apply to you, I will hold you in contempt and you'll discover that wealth can't buy your way out of a jail cell. Do I make myself clear? Yes, Your Honor, Marcus said quietly. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Yes, Your Honor, Marcus repeated, louder this time, his voice cracking. Your client can speak for himself, Counselor. Mr. Ashford was very comfortable speaking for himself earlier. Judge Caprio looked directly at the CEO. Do you have anything to say? Marcus stood slowly. For the first time in years, the armor of arrogance had cracked completely. Your Honor, he said, his voice barely above a whisper, I apologize. For what, specifically? Marcus swallowed hard. The whole courtroom watched as a billionaire CEO who'd walked in like he owned the world now stood small and humbled. For my disrespect to this court, for my attitude, for thinking that I was above the law. Apology noted. It doesn't change the ruling. You'll pay every fine and complete every hour of service. This court is adjourned. The gavel came down with a sharp crack that echoed like a gunshot, the aftermath that shook the internet. Someone in the courtroom had recorded it on their phone. By dinner time, the video was everywhere. Judge Caprio destroys entitled billionaire. This is what accountability looks like. Finally, someone standing up to wealthy elites. That CEO got wrecked. The video hit 10 million views in 24 hours. By the end of the week, it had exploded to over 200 million across all platforms. It was on every news channel. Late-night comedians made jokes about it. It became a cultural moment. Marcus Ashford's company lost $240 million in market value within a week. Sponsors dropped partnerships. The board demanded a public apology. His TED Talk was quietly removed. His book sales crashed. His entire carefully constructed image as a visionary disruptor collapsed under the weight of his own arrogance. But something unexpected happened during those 40 hours of community service. Marcus showed up to the Rhode Island Independent Living Center expecting to just put in his time. Instead, he met Sarah, a former software engineer with multiple sclerosis who'd been unable to work for 2 years because buildings weren't accessible. He met James, a Navy SEAL who'd lost both legs in Afghanistan and couldn't attend his daughter's school play because someone was parked in the accessible spot. He met dozens of people whose stories he'd never considered. People who weren't asking for special treatment, just basic dignity and access to the world everyone else took for granted. Something shifted in Marcus. Not the performative change of a PR campaign, but genuine transformation. 3 months later, he published a simple Medium post. No PR team, just his own words. I walked into Judge Caprio's courtroom thinking I was untouchable. I walked out learning I was just another person who'd forgotten that rules exist to protect all of us, not to hold back the ambitious. I'd like to thank Judge Caprio for caring enough to hold me accountable when everyone else in my life had stopped. He announced NextCore was committing $50 million to improve accessibility in Providence, starting with schools and community centers. But more importantly, he fundamentally changed how he moved through the world. Why this moment matters. The video got 200 million views because it touched something deep in the American psyche. We're living in an era where it feels like rules apply differently depending on who you are, where the wealthy and powerful seem to play by different standards, where justice has a price tag, and if you can afford the right lawyers, you can skate past consequences. Judge Caprio's courtroom represented something we're starving for, true equality under the law. The radical idea that a billionaire and a busboy stand on the same ground when facing justice. Every one of us has felt the sting of watching powerful people dodge consequences while we follow every rule and pay every ticket. We've all felt invisible while someone with money cuts in line, parks where they please, and treats the world like their playground. Judge Caprio said what we all wish we could say. You're not special. You're not above this. You will be held accountable. And he did it with dignity. He didn't humiliate Marcus for sport. He educated him. He held up a mirror and forced a man surrounded by yes men to see himself clearly for the first time in years. The 200 million views weren't just people watching a viral video. They were people witnessing something rare, justice that applies equally, dignity that can't be bought, and a reminder that America's promise that all are created equal still means something. Judge Frank Caprio reminded us that the law isn't just rules in books. It's a compact between all of us. It's how we agree to treat each other. It's the invisible force that keeps chaos at bay and makes civilization possible. And it only works if everyone plays by the same rules. Marcus Ashford walked into that courtroom thinking he was untouchable. He walked out learning that in America, at least in Judge Caprio's courtroom, nobody is. and millions of people watched it happen, shared it with their friends, and felt just for a moment that justice still exists. That's exactly how it should be.